nominees. Joining me now, Republican Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. So Democrats are vowing a fight. Senate Democrats are vowing a fight. How confident are you that Democrats are not going to be able to derail this confirmation before Election Day?
Good morning, Jake. It's good to be back on with you. Judge Amy Coney Barrett is an outstanding jurist, one of the finest legal minds of her generation. So I commend the president for yet another excellent nomination to the federal courts. I look forward to voting for Judge Barrett. The Senate will confirm her to the highest court in the land next month.
Next month, so in October. In 2016, you opposed President Obama's efforts to fill Justice Scalia's seat. I want to play our viewers some of what you said back then.
In a few short months, we will have a new president and new senators who can consider the next justice with the full faith of the American people. Why would we deny the voters a chance to weigh in on the makeup of the Supreme Court? There's absolutely no reason to do so, or at least no principled reason to do so.
So that clip from the Senate floor in March 2016 was 8 months before the 2016 election. Right now, we're 5 weeks out from the election. Why was it so important back then to let the voters have a chance to weigh in on the makeup of the Supreme Court, but today it's not?
Yeah, Jake, it's not so much about the timing, but how the voters had spoken. They had delivered a split decision to the president and the Senate at the time. They elected Barack Obama in 2012. They elected me and a lot of other Republicans in 2014 as a break on the Obama agenda, most notably on his far-left judicial nominees. That's not the case now. In 2018, we had about as clear a national referendum as we could, just 1 month after the Justice Kavanaugh confirmation, in which Democrats threw everything but the kitchen sink at him. They didn't just re-elect a Republican majority, they expanded a Republican majority. That includes defeating 4 Democratic senators who voted against Justice Kavanaugh, re-electing the 1 Democratic senator who voted for him. So it was a clear mandate for a Republican Senate to continue confirming this president's outstanding judicial nominees, and that's what we're going to do with Judge Barrett next month.
That is true that that's what happened in the Senate, but in the House, the American people gave it to the Democrats by a fairly overwhelming margin. But moving on, in that same speech from March 2016, you argued that the dramatic ideological differences between Justice Scalia and President Obama's nominee made it all the more necessary to get input from voters. Take a listen.
Should Justice Scalia be replaced by a philosophically liberal justice, the implications for the rights of Americans and the direction of our nation would be profound. Because the law of the land may take such a dramatic turn, the members of this chamber must first get the input of the American people on what the direction of our country should be.
Again, that ideological difference certainly exists between the late Justice Ginsburg and Judge Barrett. It's perhaps even more of a stark difference, frankly, considering Merrick Garland was center-left. So again, to apply your 2016 principles, which I'm not sure are any longer operative, shouldn't the American people get the chance to weigh in? Polls indicate that that's what the public thinks, that whoever's elected November 3rd should pick the Supreme Court justice.
Jake, again, we go back to the split decision they had delivered. In 2014, they elected a Republican majority to help put the brakes on the Obama agenda, including his judicial nominees. Now, though, we are operating under the clear mandate we received in 2018. And, Jake, you know the old political line about the only poll that matters is the one that happens on Election Day. We had an election on this very issue in 2018, and the voters didn't just re-elect a Republican majority. They expanded a Republican majority, and they defeated those Democratic senators who voted against Brett Kavanaugh. I don't think it could be any clearer than that.
Earlier this month, after President Trump listed you among his potential Supreme Court candidates, you tweeted, quote, "It's time for Roe v. Wade to go," clearly indicating how you would vote on that key issue. Now, President Trump said this morning that he has not discussed Roe with Judge Barrett, but he signaled that he thought the court could overturn it with her on the court. Do you think Judge Barrett should follow your example and be similarly forthright and candid with the American people about how she would vote on Roe v. Wade?
Well, Jake, I'm pro-life, and I've long believed that Roe v. Wade was wrongly decided, in part because it took away a vital question from the American people to decide on their own through their elected representatives, be they in Congress or their state legislatures. Now, that said, I can't speculate about hypothetical cases that may happen years from now, probably not even filed yet. But I am heartened that the president nominated Judge Barrett to the Supreme Court, and that Judge Barrett explained yesterday that the late, great Justice Scalia's judicial philosophy was hers as well. She understands the judge's role is not to impose her own preferences, not to cast her wishes as the law of the land, but rather to uphold the Constitution and the law as it is written. That's exactly what I expect her to do.
I know, but I guess the question is, like, you were honest about your position on this. It's kind of this weird part of American judicial kabuki that justices come before the Senate and pretend that they've never talked about or thought about Roe v. Wade, which is obviously a very significant piece of legislation, whether you're for it or against it. Don't you think she should just be as honest as you were and just say, I oppose Roe v. Wade?
Well, Jake, the big difference between me and most of the people on the president's list is that I'm not a judge. I'm not a sitting judge. I'm not bound by the canon of judicial ethics, so I can speak my mind on the great public questions of the day. Judges obviously cannot, just like Justice Kagan and Justice Sotomayor, President Obama's picks to the Supreme Court, did not either. Now, one way we could have this conversation is if Joe Biden would release his list of potential nominees. He hasn't done that, I suspect, because they would be radical left-wing activists that obviously wouldn't just uphold the right to abortion, but uphold a right to taxpayer-funded abortion up to the last moment before birth or even after it. Joe Biden ought to put his names for the Supreme Court out for the public to assess them. I suspect he won't, because it will reveal just how radical the Democrats have become on this question.
As I've said before, in the name of transparency, I think Biden should put out a list.